Hello, my name's Claude Taylor, and welcome to my how-to plumbing channel. To all my subscribers and return visitors, thank you for your continued support. And if you are new to this channel and you like what you see, give it a thumbs up and become a subscriber. Thank you. Without further ado, let's go on to the video. Now, this is a little different than what I'm normally doing on a how-to channel. This particular water heater here that we're looking at right now, I've actually fixed this about a year ago. There was an issue with the burner and it wasn't cutting on and they couldn't get it to light. So we did take care of that problem. But now they called me back out, and this time the water softener went bad. And when the water softener started to go bad, the little pellets that you might see in your water, if you do own a water softener and had one, it started having issues. The little beads that's getting stuck in your faucet and stuff. Well, anyway, on this particular water heater, it quite a bit of those beads got into the inside of it, and rather than, you know, flushing it, because they did try to flush the tank, the homeowner just wanted to go ahead and replace it. So we did go ahead and replace it, and what I did is brought it back so that I can take it apart and see what's going on in the inside and what it looks like, and the damage that the water softener done into the inside. And what you see me doing here is trying every and anything I can to cut into this metal tank. It wasn't easy. I used all the little tools that I had. I'm not really set up for taking stuff like this apart, but I was curious to see what's going on. Okay, that one kind of put a little too much on that, so we're going to try something else. But we are going to get this tank open and we're going to see what's going on in here. And this was actually a really good water heater. It was only like 10 years old. And the life expectancy of a water heater is 14 to 15 years. But this one was up in the attic also. And a lot of the water heater manufacturers, they really actually don't recommend water heaters in the attic, and for obvious reason, because in the attics, especially down here in the south, it gets very hot, and we know that when it's hot and closed in, that we have sufficient air, and we all know that the fire will need some oxygen to breathe. So with this issue down here in the south, with them being in the attic, it's probably not the best situation. But anyway, we pulled this one out of the attic, and that's why I had to fix it the first time, because it was having issues with the pilot assembly prematurely going out. And by the way, if you're curious about the first job that I did on this water heater, there will be a copy of that video at the end of this one here. And if you're wondering, I know you can't see, but I do have a shield to cover my face so that the particles and the fire coming from the tank doesn't get into my eyes. So please don't take this video as a lesson on how to cut open the hot water tank from the outside. This is not something I normally do. This is out of curiosity for me and you. I'm sure there's watchers out there that's watching this channel right now that can tell me a better way and a quicker way that I could have done this. That would have been great, but anyway, that's my story and I'm sticking to it. What happened with the water softener, just so you know, if you are a person that owns a water softener at your home, the it started malfunctioning, which means the little beads in the resin, they call it the resin part, the resin tank that holds the resin. Uh, I would say that the strainer that keeps the little beads from getting into the water and filter the water, the strainer probably more than most likely it just cracked and the beads started coming through. It's possible that it could be fixed, but that would only be done by someone that's specialized in water purification systems. Most plumbers, you don't want to call them out and have them look at your water softener because they don't really know what they're looking at. I mean, they've got an idea how it works, just like I do. And if you call them out there, more than most likely, if you get a plumber that likes to sell and want to upsell, you're going to be buying your new water softener, or he's going to try to talk you into a new water softener rather than trying to fix the one that you have. So if this issue occurs, I would recommend that you call someone from Google's or the internet or Yellow Pages that specialize in water purification systems. Most people that do have these water softeners in their home, a lot of them, they don't, they might not keep the maintenance up on it because they're not sure. But there are purification companies out there that will contract to check your water softener periodically, every 6 months to a year. That's something you might want to check out. And if it's not something that you really don't want to keep up with, and if you like me, you're very busy and there's so many things you need to keep up with, I probably wouldn't even recommend a water softener, because right now it looks like it's going to do more damage than it's supposed to help the plumbing system and keep your water nice and clean and drinkable. And I know a lot of welders out there looking at this right now. It'd be nice to have a blowtorch. I would love to have a blowtorch. I can just cut this right open real quick. And I am being as cautious as I can because and having these nice heavy gloves on will help keep me from getting cut, because this is like razor. Some of these corners are razor sharp and it could be very dangerous. I wouldn't recommend anyone else doing this unless you are experienced at doing this. Right there, that little blue tube that you see coming down, that tube is coming straight from the hot water side, the cold water side, where the cold water comes into the tank. And that tube goes all the way to the bottom. And if you know how a water heater operates, heat rises. So when the cold water comes into the tank, it goes straight to the bottom. Some issues that I've ran into where customers were running out of hot water really quick is when that dip tube right there was broken off. So if it was broken off, that means at the top, when that cold water came in, it mixed immediately with the hot water that was on top already, and therefore their hot water was being depleted really quick. And that little stringy looking thing there that you see right there, this is what it's supposed to look like. That actually is the NOB tube. And I'm going to leave a description below so that you can go check out the NOB tube. That NOB tube is completely gone. I mean, it's really... I'm trying to get a good view of it inside here. That's the NOB tube. What all that stuff's coming off of it, I don't know. And some of it is the resin from the water softener that's caked around it. Yeah, right there, you see it really good now. You see the resin up on top that's mixed. And you can see all the resin from the water softener, the little beads that are stuck down at the bottom of the tank. I'll give you a better view of this later in the video here. And the tube you see coming inside there, the little tube, that's from the gas control valve. That's the thermostat that reads the temperature of the tank. It knows when, so when the tank knows when to kick on and off. And you can see the dip tube goes straight down, the blue one. And here we have the gas control valve. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this out so that you can see the resin that's built up and kind of caked around the stem of it that went in. I'm using a large pair of channel lock pliers. Another easier way to do this is to have a small piece of 1/2-inch pipe, probably about 12 inches long, and screw it into the part where the pipe goes in, and just use your leverage and twist it off of there, and then the rest you can do with your hand. And I'm trying to operate the camera and do this at the same time, so please bear with me. So I'm trying to give you a view of the inside as I pull the stem of the and remove the gas control valve itself. Right there. I probably should have made this hole a little bigger, huh? Anyway, this gives you a little view. Again, like I said, I've got a little better angle later in the video, you'll see. You can see the resin's all caked up and built up on here. The initial flush that they did, evidently it wasn't enough to flush enough of this away. Okay, as promised, here's a better view of the little beads and resin from the water softener caked at the bottom and built up on the side. And this right here is the, of course, the TMP valve, temperature pressure relief valve. If this water heater gets too hot, the water's too hot, it'll shoot water out of here and blow off the steam, or if there's too much pressure in the tank. Okay, I do apologize for the vertical challenge here, but it seemed like the light from my phone I was able to actually access a little better, so I pulled my phone out and kind of videotape the inside of the water tank. And then again, there's the temperature relief valve. As promised, this is the water heater that I fixed over a year ago. This is what happened then. This is the same water heater I took apart at the beginning of the video from the water softener issues. I hope you find it helpful and useful. We're going to get started on this water heater. This is not a customer. This is a friend, actually a family member. The issue they were having, the water heater would not light. And of course, I've done hundreds of these, so when they told me, I knew exactly what it was. He ordered the part, got the part in, and now I am here to install the part for him. The brand of water heater this is a State water heater. That's the name brand of this water heater. And I do have two other videos out here. One covering a Rheem gas water heater, same problem, and another covering the Bradford White water heater, same issue. Almost the same operating system, except for a few changes on the safety device. And the safety device that I'll show you on this one is much different than the Bradford White or Rheem. They actually have a small little capacitor on the thermocoupling that actually goes bad when the water heater is either overheated or smothered with lack of oxygen. So once we get this apart and we start working on it, I'll show you that part. And right now I know I'm using a crescent wrench to take these bolts off. I do have a nut driver that fits that. Just right now I'm too lazy to run down to the truck and get it, but I will go get it because I'm going to have to go back down anyway. But for now we can just get this burner out the way. And you can see me struggle with this a little bit. The area in this attic that I'm working in is very tight. I'm only like 3 feet from the opening. If I'm not careful, I can fall right down the ladder and hurt myself. So I have to work real careful right here in this spot. And right now it's a little early, so it's kind of not too hot, but I can feel the temperature starting to rise. And that's the bracket that was holding it in place. You can see the gas is off. As long as the handle is facing the opposite way of the pipe, it's off. And we're going to remove the gas flex line. And we're going to cut the water to the hot water tank off. See, it's so tight up in here I can't really even stand up, so I have to do my best to get the camera in there to get a picture of the cutoff valve. I won't be able to show you myself cutting it off, but I'll show you after it's cut off. Okay, right there, it's off. As long as the handle's facing the opposite way of the pipe, it's off. And with that, we're going to relieve the pressure from the tank. Now we relieve the pressure, and there's no air in the tank, so that when we go to remove the gas control valve, we don't have to worry about water shooting out. We will get a small amount because the tank is full, but we're not going to get a heavy rush of water. It'll just kind of bloop bloop out of here, so it'll give us enough time to remove this and put the other one in place. But if you feel safer draining the whole tank to remove it, I mean, by all means, go for it. I've been doing this quite a few times, like I said, hundreds of times, so I'm pretty familiar with it and check it real close myself. And I'm using the sponge. I'm pulling it down here in the combustion area opening because, like I said, a little water will come out, and I don't want any going into the the combustion chamber or on the bottom of the tank. So we're trying to do this job as neat as I can and without getting water everywhere. And this is the new gas control valve. And you can see it comes with Teflon tape already on it, so we don't have to Teflon it up or pipe dope it. We're good. And now that I've loosened the gas control valve with the gas pipe, I used it as a tool to remove it, to loosen it. Now I can loosen it with my hand. I'm going to take it right off, and we're going to put the new one in right away. You'll see a small amount of water right there. That's about it. Screw it in, and we're good. And now the gas pipe that we took off the old one, we're going to put it on this one, and we're going to use it as our tool, as our wrench to put this back on here and tighten it back down. And before I do that, I did put some True Blue. That's what the pipe dope is called that I use, True Blue. It's really good and strong and seals the pipe nicely. You can see how I use the leverage of the gas piping to twist the valve in place and tighten it down. And that was me. Well, you see right here, I'm going to use my channel lock pliers to tighten the gas flex line down. But what you don't see, I wasn't able to show you, is I did use backup, another wrench to hold it steady, to really get it tight and sealed. Again, like I said, I'm working in such a tight area. If there's anything on this video that I might have missed, it wasn't intentionally, and I apologize. And if you have any questions or comments, leave them below. As a matter of fact, what do you think of water heaters in the attic? Good idea, bad idea? You can see where it's cracked right there. This is part of the thermocoupling, which is different than any other water heater that I know of other than State. And once that's cracked, we know that it's damaged. And here's the new one, sealed nicely and tight. Again, this is the thermocoupling. A lot of you out there that are familiar with thermocouplings, you know that this don't exist on them, only on state water heater. That is what they use as their safety device to shut the water heater down in case any problems arrive. And if you see the other videos, the Ream and the Bradford White, you'll see that they have their own type of safety device. One is, those are not connected to the thermocoupling. You probably notice that I'm starting to breathe a little heavier. It's the day is coming on. It's starting to get a little warmer out. Um, and actually, I haven't been up here that long. It's just that the temperature's starting to rise rather quickly here. Now, again, I've done this, quite a few times, hundreds of times. Um, so I do remember where a lot of the parts go. Um, but if you're hesitant and not sure of once you before you take anything apart that you're not going to remember where it went, all I do when I get to a point like that is I take a picture of it. And when I start putting it back together, if I get lost, I'll just look at the picture and it shows me where I'm at. So that's just a little advice. Thanks to technology, we can use our phones to do that. This main burner right here that I'm holding right there in the hand, if you look at it, it's no more different than the burners you have on a cook stove, where you place a pot and you're cooking things. And basically, that is what this is. This is a burner, and the water heater is a large pot that sits on top of it. And once it gets to a certain temperature, depending on where you set it, it cuts off automatically. And once the pressure of the water drops, of course, this kicks right back on. So those of you that hear that popping sound in your water heaters when it goes to kick back on, it's nothing more than a bunch of calcium on the bottom of the tank itself, the large pot, let's call it a large pot. It's just like putting overcooked rice on your stove and you put water in there and it starts to heat up. You start hearing it popping. Same difference. And they do recommend that you flush your water heater once a year. Me personally, I think if you don't do it once a year, you're asking for trouble, because if you start doing it 3-4 years down the line and you cut it on, you may have issues with the calcium buildup. So as soon as you get the water heater, you want to start that yearly process. The little brass piece you see right there, that's called an orifice. You have to have that on there. This one is made for natural gas. If you ever need to convert your water heater to propane, you can change that orifice out, and that will allow you to change to different type of gas. You can really see it's getting hot up here. I'm actually looking at the, as I'm editing this, I'm looking at the sweat coming off of me. And also, tankless water heaters. Leave a comment below. What do you think? Do you like tankless water heaters or the conventional one like we're working on right here, right now? The pros and cons. Now, the little red one right there where my thumb is, that little red rubber piece right there, that's called a grommet. And it's kind of hard squeezing that grommet into place, but once it's in place, it's good because it keeps the combustion area nice and sealed tight. so that this is actually designed to keep gases from flowing out the bottom of the tank. If you remember the old um, water heaters, they didn't. You can get access easily right to the bottom, but now they've sealed the bottom, and you can't get access unless you do what I'm doing here and take it all out. Okay, now we got that grommet in place. And usually when they send it in the box, the new parts, the grommet is in the spot where it needs to be, so don't mess around trying to adjust it. And that's just another rubber piece similar to the grommet. Again, just to keep the bottom sealed. And again, it's really hard for me to try to bend over and get a bird's eye view of this because there's no room. There's no room for me to actually. I can, but it's very uncomfortable. What you can see now, I'm trying to get in a position where I can get a better angle and make it a little easier to work with getting this in here. I'm trying to get it up over the bracket that's in there, but I can't actually, like I said, I can't see it. And you definitely want to get it in the bracket so that it could rest properly right up under the tank like it should. Don't just try to put it in there any other kind of way. Make sure it's in the bracket that it belongs in. And okay, this time I have my nut driver with me. Actually, this is like a 8-way screwdriver. It has so many different parts to it. The flathead, Phillip head, 5/16 nut driver, another nut driver, and it actually even has some star wrench parts on it. So it's a really good screwdriver. And that's, you just heard, that's me turning the water back onto the tank. And I turn the water on before I finish, just in case there's any issues while I'm working on the tank. I'll be able to address it. The middle one right there, where you see my hand, that is the main burner. That's where all the gas goes to the main burner. And this one here, the one right there that I'm getting ready to hook up, that goes to the pilot. That's the gas to the pilot that keeps it lit. And all of these tubings, you want to be careful as you bend it so that you don't kink it and cut off any gas supply to the unit. So you just kind of bend it slowly. The same with the thermocoupling. And the thermocoupling is the one that we're going to put on next. And here's the thermocoupling. And the purpose of the thermocoupling, it's actually a current that runs through the thermocoupling, electrical current that runs through there. Once the pilot is lit, the pilot burns up against the thermocoupling, and that causes the thermocoupling to create a small current of electricity that operates the gas control valve itself. And that's the purpose of the thermocoupling. So when you do go to light a water heater, you always hold the gas supply down for at least a minute or so. It allows the thermocoupling to generate some electrical current to control the gas valve, and once that current gets to going, it's automatically on its own. And this is another thing that could prevent your water heater from being lit if you have a thermocoupling that is not tightly connected up and top into the control valve. There's the old one. So what I'm going to do with the old one, I'm going to take the old igniter, because the new assembly didn't come with a igniter switch. Okay, the new control valve is a little different, but that's not a problem. We're just going to squeeze it, the igniter switch. We're going to squeeze the bracket so to get a little snug in place up here. And now we're going to connect the igniter wire that sparks the light into the chambers of the water heater. And again, this is another thing that you would like to check. If you can't light your water heater, if there's not a connection here, you're not going to get the water heater to light. So just pull back this little rubber piece that I'm pulling over and check the connection. It's very rare that that happens, but it does. Okay, the gas is back on, and what I'm doing here is holding the gas knob down, allowing a little gas to get in the chamber, and now I just click the igniter 5 or 6 times real fast, and that should get it lit. Normally, in this case, I would look through the glass to see if it's lit, but again, there's no room for me to hold this and look down in there, so we're just gonna hold it for a minute and hope that it's lit. And again, while we hold it, the reason we hold it in place for a minute, hold it down, is so that the pilot light can burn against the thermocoupling and generate enough current to keep it going on its own. Okay. Good. It's lit. Now the main burner's on, and they're set. I'm gonna take this camera and I'm gonna kind of pan the little area that I was working in to give you an idea how tight the space was. You can see it right there. It's probably no more than 3 feet to the edge, so I can easily fell it over if I wasn't careful. And right down here, and that wouldn't have been good. And you can see how when I stood up, that flexible duct was right there at my head, and I couldn't hardly get into there to cut the water heater off. Again, my name's Claude Taylor. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're not a subscriber, become one. Thank you. And if you like the video, give me a thumbs up. Thank you. Have a great day.